Hello, this is Joshua Cross again with TrueBeacon, and I'm going to show you some more features of the multi-location app for Clover. In the first video, we talked about the general features of multi-location as well as the specific feature of merchant groups. In this video, I'm going to take you through everything except for reporting, and I'm going to log in as Marcy's Coffee Shop. And so we're going to look today at employees, inventory, discounts, and orders. What you'll see in the employees tab, and really in every tab, is pretty much exactly the same information that you see in Clover. Most of the tabs are going to have a few options up the top for things to do, and one of those is going to be setup. Let's drill into one of the employees first real quick. So here you see Anne, and you see exactly the same information that you might find for Clover: names, nicknames, IDs, everything except for the multi-location group box at the bottom. This is unique to multi-location. So for an employee and for an inventory item, as you'll see in a moment, you can associate that employee with a particular multi-location group. Now Anne happens to be associated with no groups. And what that means is that Anne is a unique employee only existing at Marcy's Coffee Shop. And if we were to switch over to Clover, which we'll do in just a moment, you would see that Anne exists in Marcy's as an employee but doesn't exist anywhere else. For example, if I switch over to Clover and I'm now in Clover as Magic Beans Coffee Shop, a different merchant than Marcy's, and I click on the Employees app, you'll see that there's only one employee for Magic Beans, and it happens to be me. So I'm going to go ahead and close the Employees app. I'm going to stay logged in Clover as Magic Beans because I'm going to come back to that in a moment. But over here, what we want to do is we want to take Anne, and suppose Anne should also be at the Magic Beans Clover merchant as well. So you're a franchise, you're an enterprise, you're a business owner, and you happen to have multiple stores, and Anne works at least some of those other stores. So let's go ahead and associate Anne with the multi-location group. And what we're going to do is we're going to pick the new test coffee shops group. That was the group that I set up in the introductory video. And now I'm going to go ahead and save that. So the save has been made. I'm taken back to the main employees page. I can confirm that by going into the details. The group is associated with Anne. And if I go over to Magic Beans Coffee Shop, I click on employees. The Clover app now launches, and we see that now Anne is in fact associated with Magic Beans as well. And Anne would be associated with any and all merchants that are associated and part of the new test coffee shops merchant group. So that's a great way to very quickly take an employee that exists at one store, maybe the corporate headquarters, and propagate that employee's information out to all other stores. Let's go back to the main page. You can do something similar with setup, but I'm going to show you setup in a different context. I'm going to switch over to the inventory function of multi-location, and I'll dig into setup there. So in inventory, much like with employees, what you're looking at is very similar to what you find in Clover. You're going to see all of your inventory items listed here: prices, taxes, product codes, categories, and modifier groups and labels. As well, across the top, there's different things that you can switch over to so stock for inventory, categories, modifiers, group labels, and setup. If I drill into the details for a particular item, what you'll find is all of this information: name, alternate name, and so on and so forth is there, very similar to Clover. Two things that are different about multi-location. One is the multi-location groups box. This particular item happens to be associated with merchant group A plus B. And because this item is associated with the merchant group, it also has another feature unique to multi-location, which is a concept called alternates. And so this little icon here, this kind of Y-shaped fork icon, indicates that this item can actually have alternate pricing or alternate cost or alternate stock, alternate SKU, product code, or alternate tax rate. And what that means is across all of the merchants in the group A plus B, there are no current alternates. So the price at all of the merchants for this cup of coffee is $3.95. Cost is 0, stock is 0, and so on. If I want to make a price change across the entire merchant group, I can do that by changing the price here from $3.95 to something else, and then clicking Save. If, however, I only want to change the price for one particular merchant in the group, but I want to leave it the same for all others, and in general I want the item to be the same item so that it can be tracked similarly in reporting, I can use an alternate. And if I select a user, for example, test merchant A, and I click on a price, and let's make the price something bizarre so that we can easily identify it. So we'll click $5.43, and I save that, and I save this page. The page will refresh. I'll click back into it just to confirm what we've done. The page is loading. In just a moment, you'll see, okay, the alternate pricing is there for test merchant A, $5.43, and this happens to be this item called Blue Rebel Iced. Okay, so let's confirm that that actually did what we think it was supposed to do. So I'll go back over here. I'll switch to a different merchant. I'll switch over to inventory test merchant B. That's a merchant that happens to be in that group, A plus B. I'll click on inventory, and I will see that there's that Blue Rebel Iced, and it still has the $3.95 price, which is what we expected it to have. If I look at Marcy's, let's find Marcy's. There's Marcy's. So that was the merchant that I actually was logged into in multi-location and made the change. That's still $3.95 there. Now, if we look at test merchant A, you'll see that the price is different. So that's where the price is $5.43, reflecting that alternate change that we made in multi-location. Let's switch back over to multi-location real quick. One other really cool thing that you can do is if you've already gotten all your inventory set up for, say, one particular merchant, but you want all future merchants or all future merchants within a merchant group to have exactly the same inventory, rather than adding the merchant group to every single item and clicking Save, which would have the effect of propagating those items to all the merchants in the merchant group, you can do it much faster by clicking on Setup. The page loads, and then you can pick a merchant group. So for example, if I wanted all of Marcy's inventory to get propagated out to the Magic Beans merchant, I would use Setup, and I could do it very quickly. Let me just confirm and show you that Magic Beans has no inventory. So let me switch over to Magic Beans real quick. There's Magic Beans in Clover. We're going to launch inventory in Clover, and you'll see Magic Beans has no inventory. Okay, let's get Magic Beans set up with an inventory so they can start making us money. So you'll recall that Magic Beans is in new test coffee shops group, and here is all of the inventory that Marcy's has that can potentially get shipped over to any merchant in the new test coffee shops merchant group. So I'm going to go ahead and select everything, and I'm going to send it over there, and then I'm going to make sure to hit Save. And the page refreshes very quickly, but one thing to keep in mind when you're doing setup for your own merchants is that the process can actually take quite a long time, especially if you have many merchants or inventory items. I think that we'll be able to switch over here in just a second and everything will be propagated over and fine. But really it can take a long time, sometimes 20, 30, or 60 minutes. So if you're sure that you have hit the Save button, and it will gray out if you have, if you're sure that you've hit the Save button, make sure that you wait for a significant amount of time as you're checking over in Clover before you worry too much that something has gone wrong. Of course, if you do think something has gone wrong, feel free to email us and we'll help you out. But just note that it does take quite a while. So we'll switch over to Magic Beans right now. I think it's probably good because there's not that many items. And we'll relaunch the inventory, and there, look at that, Magic Beans now has all of the items. So this is a very, very fast way to send all of your items to a particular merchant group, which might contain dozens of merchants for your franchise or enterprise. We'll close this, and we'll switch back over to multi-location, and discounts works exactly the same way. You can set up discounts. You can create new ones. You can add them to particular merchant groups, and you can use the same setup process that we just saw. And the final thing that I want to show you in this video is how Orders works. So Orders is going to pull the order information from Clover, and you can look at the order information here. You can pull up receipts. If you want to pull up receipts, this is exactly the same receipt that you would see in Clover. Go ahead and close that. The thing about multi-location and the orders page is that you can look at orders, line items, payments, manual refunds, and refunds, and you can do it for merchant groups. So if you want to look at all of the orders for all of the merchants in a particular merchant group, you can do that. So I just added A plus B, and it's kind of hard to tell from this particular page, but a lot of other orders that were not just for Marcy's but also for test merchant A and test merchant B got added to this page as well. So you can very quickly monitor all of that from multi-location for many different merchants through adding merchant groups to this box here. That's all I'm going to cover in this video. And then in the final video, I will talk to you about reports. So thank you very much for using multi-location and watching the videos, and I'll catch you in the third installment.